week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. Tekkadan plunders some pirates, they get swift and bloody revenge against Allium Gyozan and his corrupt organization, and Orga might have finally made a deal with the devil himself. So much hype going on in this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. You know, as badass as Mikazuki is, he's also something of a psychopath. The fact that you can order him to kill someone and he does it without blinking still manages to be one of the most disturbing aspects of Iron-Blooded Orphans, and you get to see that at first hand in this week's episode. Not only that, but you got an amazing mobile suit battle at the beginning of the episode as the Arianhad fleet was competing with Mikazuki to capture Sandoval Rooters, the leader of Dawn Horizon Corps. Basically, this was just an excuse for a lot of really cool, kick-ass looking mobile suit action, and I think I realized why I love the action scenes so much in Iron-Blooded Orphans, and that's for how brutal they are. Unlike a lot of the other Mobile Suit Gundam series, which mostly rely on beam rifles and beam sabers, this one is all about pure, raw, blunt force, especially from the character of Mikazuki, who just completely trashes and demolishes just about any mobile suit that gets in his way, and watching him dismantle Sandoval Rooter's mobile suit in this week's episode was just satisfying as hell, especially the conclusion where he's standing over the mobile suit with both weapons in hand. It was just badass. That and the fact that he was competing with this brand new character by the name of Julieta Juris, who I always imagined as being kind of like the female Mikazuki, although I don't think she's quite up to his level. She certainly has some mobile suit skills, especially when she's fighting against those two guards of Sandoval Rooters who totally look like Team Aqua and Team Magma members, and she actually uses their own weapons against them. When she gets caught with a cable, she actually slams them into each other. Mikazuki also manages to do the same thing, mostly to keep Julieta off of his ass. He actually ends up throwing one of those mobile suits right into her, but safe to say, the opening mobile suit battle this week was absolutely thrilling, and Tekkadan has just been made out to be heroes to all of Gallarhorn. They're finally going to be able to take all of the credit here, and they're not going to be overshadowed by the Arianhad fleet. And I'm sure this is all a part of McGillis Farid's plan. The second half of the episode is where things get dark and frankly kind of fucked up. Allium Gyozan has realized that he is screwed. His ass is about to get grilled by Tekkadan. They just arrived on Mars, and before he can come up with a plan to evade them, both Mikazuki and Orga arrive in his office with a giant posse of Tekkadan's soldiers who have all of his crew completely at gunpoint. Orga basically says, look, we know what you did. We know that you tried to kill us, you tried to assassinate Kudelia Ina Bernstein, and you sent the Dawn Horizon Corps after us. We can make this all square. All you have to do is just pay us our demands, and we'll be good. But of course, Allium wants to get out of this without having to pay them. He tries to get some help on the phone. This doesn't work. So then Mikazuki just ends up putting a couple of bullets right through his skull. Of all the main crews that I've ever seen in a Gundam anime, I do have to say that Tekkadan is my favorite, but they're also the most extreme, and the fact that most of them are children still manages to hit it home even this far into the series. Mikazuki is a very scary character, and yet he can be the ultimate ally all at the same time. Clearly, Orga has no problems with killing people at this point and will do whatever it takes to make it another stepping stone for Tekkadan. The one thing that got me really excited about this episode, however, is that Tekkadan is going to be doing more mining. They have this giant field which they're going to be able to have access to now, and they start digging things up, and one of the first things they find is a brand new Gundam frame. It looks really awesome despite the fact that it's still all gray and silver, but I can't wait to see what they do when they unearth this thing and we give it some brand new color schemes and a name. I'm interested to see who this Gundam frame is going to go to, however, because Shino, of course, has been saying that he wants a Gundam frame really, really bad, but I have a feeling he's probably going to stick with his Ryusei Go. I have a feeling that this Gundam frame is probably going to go to Hush Midi, who actually asks Mikazuki in this episode to help him learn how to pilot mobile suits. And I honestly do think this is fitting. These two characters are very similar when you look at their backstories, and they have the same deadened eyes. In a way, Mikazuki can truly understand Hush Midi without even having to have a really big conversation with him, and it's just going to be interesting to have another character working under Mikazuki, someone who's a little older and wants to learn how to use a mobile suit, and he just might be the next big Gundam pilot of the series. Will he be as more badass as Akihiro? Impossible! Akihiro is the best character of the series. Period. The episode ends with Orga and Mikazuki going up to the Ares base, which just so happens to be the headquarters of Gjallarhorn. That's where they meet with McGillis Farid and make an uneasy alliance with him. Essentially, McGillis wants to have more power. He wants to become the Emperor and reform Gjallarhorn. And that also means he's going to have to get rid of some of his enemies and rivals, including Rustal Elion. Rustal, as you'll know, is the commander of the Aryan Hod fleet, and essentially is on the same ranking level as McGillis. However, there's still something going on with that group. I have a feeling the reason that McGillis is going after this guy is that he probably knows that he has a red dot on his forehead, that being the sniper rifle of his enemies. Maybe even that masked villain, he might know of his existence, who again is almost certainly Gaelio. What I will say is, it is interesting to see this group teaming up with what is arguably the villains of the series. I can't wait to see how it's going to play out and who's going to end up tricking who first. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans? The action was great. The middle scene was incredibly shocking. There was a small scene between Kudelia and Atra, which I think was probably the best part of the episode in showing how crazy Mikazuki and Tekkadan has become. And then, of course, there's that final scene where they team up with McGillis. Like I said, it is literally like shaking hands with Satan himself. I'm really glad that the last two episodes have given us a lot of action. I think that's something that was definitely missing from a lot of the very first season of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. That's not to say that it was a bad season. In fact, I really love Iron-Blooded Orphans. It's one of my favorite Gundam anime of all time, if only for the fact that it's continuing to break the mold, not only in the way it does its mobile suit battles, but just the way it does its storytelling and character development overall. Of the events that went down in this episode, I'm most interested to see how Mikazuki is going to be training Hushmedi to be a mobile suit pilot. Like I said, their personalities are very similar, as are their backstories. And funnily enough, we actually know more about Hushmedi's backstory than we do about Mikazuki. His past with Orga is still pretty mysterious, and I have a feeling it'll probably come to a head at the very end of this season, unless, of course, they just decide, you know what? Let's give this series a third season, more development. And honestly, I think that could be a possibility with how many characters they can introduce, not to mention when they're constantly introducing all of these brand new Gundams. We know for certain that we're going to at least get two more. We have the one that the masked villain is going to be using, the Gundam frame that they discovered in this episode right here, and they even claim that there's a few other things that they discovered, but they're keeping them a little secret for now. One of those objects apparently is even bigger than a mobile suit, so I can't wait to see what that's going to be about. And like I said, this episode was just great, if only to see how far Tekkadan is willing to go in order to advance their organization, even if it means going to the darkest depths of their souls. It's some hardcore shit. And can I just talk about that action scene at the beginning again? That was so pitch perfect. Mikazuki is one of the coolest Gundam pilots that I've ever seen. The way he actually pilots a mobile suit is very different than some of the stuff that we've seen from the other series, which seem to be a little more elegant and streamlined in the way they fight. Mikazuki is all about just getting up in your face and trying to get the results as fast as he can, and doing it with a lot of blunt trauma force. And something about that is fun to watch, and it just always manages to leave my jaw on the floor. And that's pretty much what it was like this entire episode, not just with that action scene, but watching Orga and Mikazuki confront Allium Gyozan just chills the entire time. That was a hardcore scene. So yes, this was a great episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans with fantastic production value, great action scenes, awesome character development, and a lot of shocking stuff, and of course planting the seeds for some great storytelling for the future of the second season. I'm gonna give this episode a 5 out of 5. I absolutely freaking loved it. I want to watch it again, and I cannot wait to see more of Iron-Blooded Orphans. So that's my thoughts on this week's episode, but before you guys leave, make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode in the comments section below. What did you think of that opening action scene with Mikazuki just completely trashing everyone with his kick-ass mobile suit skills? And how did you react to the scene where Orga and Mikazuki confronted Allium Gyozan? And what's the deal with McGillis Farid? Is he just trying to get them killed in the crossfire? What do you want to see from the rest of Iron-Blooded Orphans? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching my review. I really appreciate it. We're one of the smaller YouTube anime review channels on YouTube, so any view that we get, I really do appreciate. So make sure to subscribe to our channel. That way you can see a lot of our latest reviews and videos, make sure to leave me a comment or two, and if you liked the video, make sure to give it a like. I will see you guys next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby!